Our book is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I'm Dash, and I was the costume designer.
I'm Abby, and I was also a costume designer, and I was also the cinematographer. So just a little bit more about our book, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Jacob Portman is young when he idolizes his grandfather, who grew up in an orphanage, and his grandpa always used to show him fantastic photos and stories about peculiar children, including invisible boys, strong girls, and people with mouths on the back of their heads. And Jacob believes these stories until he's old enough not to. When Jacob is 15, his grandpa starts raving about monsters coming to get him, and one day Jacob goes to check up on his grandfather and finds him dead and comes face to face with the monster that killed him. And before his grandfather takes his last breath, he leaves Jacob with his last words, which are, "Find the bird in the loop on the other side of the old man's grave, September 3rd, 1940. And after all this, Jacob is left very depressed because of his grandfather's passing and because no one believes him about the monster that killed him. And so he goes to see a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist then suggests that he goes to the island where his grandfather grew up to find the meaning behind his mysterious last words. And then Jacob and his father go to the island, Cairnholm Island in Wales, and he finds the old home abandoned. And while he's there searching through the decaying estate, he sees a girl. When the girl sees Jacob, she starts to run away, and Jacob chases her, and she leads him through a cave, which turns into a portal into the past. When he's on the other side of the cave, he's at the same home, but this time it's full of life. And the date is September 3rd, 1940. And there he finds Miss Peregrine, who is the woman who took care of Jacob's grandfather when he was younger. And she tells him about how his grandfather left the house to go fight the hologasts, which are monsters that eat peculiars. And Miss Peregrine created the loop, which is where they repeat the same day over and over again, and as Jacob spends more and more time in the loop, he starts to fall in love with the peculiar girl named Emma. And one day, Miss Peregrine tells Jacob that there's a hologast roaming around the island, hunting down the peculiar children, and Jacob is the only one that can see him. And so Jacob is faced with the decision if he will go back to the present day with his father and risk being hunted down by a hologast, or to stay in the loop and help the children fight the monster.
So Abby just gave you guys a brief summary of the storyline for the movie and the book, and we all truly think this is an amazing book that anyone should read, whether you're a kid or an adult. We think it's an awesome storyline, and today we're going to show you why it's a movie that you should go see. And I'm Elise, and I'm one of the costume and set designers for this movie.
I'm Kate. I was another set designer for the movie. Our first scene takes place at the Priest Hole, which was another name given to the bar and hotel that Jacob and his father have to stay at when they arrive on the island. Since the island is so small, they don't have any other options for places to stay. The bar has a very typical bar-like feel to it. It's very stereotypical, and it's very dull and worn out, with lots of brown colors and dark woods to it. It's the only place outside of the loop where Jacob can really go because he spends most of his time inside the loop. It's also a central place to Jacob and his father because it's where they spend most of their time together.
This is our first mood board for the Priest Hole, and as Kate said, it is a bar, so it has a lot of wood furnishings in it, so it has a lot of chestnuts and browns, and it is very run down, and it has kind of a musty feel, and we went ahead and included some quotes directly from the book onto our mood boards that go along with the scene. This one says, "Sometimes it's better not to look back," so just another dark feel for the atmosphere of that scene.
And this photo album is what has all of the sketches of the characters' costumes from each scene in it. And we chose to put them in a photo album because, like Abby said, Jacob's grandfather showed Jacob pictures of creepy kids in a vintage photo album, so this kind of just pulled the whole story together. And the first character in the first scene is Jacob, and Jacob is just an average teen guy from America. He doesn't really like anything fancy, so he's just wearing a patterned striped shirt and plain pants and a hooded sweatshirt. And he's just wearing a sweatshirt because it said in the book when they're going to the island there's a super chilly breeze. And the next character is Jacob's father, and Jacob's father is an ornithologist, which is a bird watcher. And he's kind of like Jacob. He's just average, typical dad from America, but since he's older, he's a little more sophisticated. So he's just wearing a plain button-down shirt with pants and a camera in case he sees any birds along the way.
And our third character is going to be Kev. He's the bartender and the innkeeper of the priest hole. And as the head of the bar, he kind of has his own like character and a little flair for the bar. And so with his hat, we gave him a little bit of character. But he's still just as run down as the bar is, as you can see with his patches on his apron. He does have like just neutral fabrics, like with the plaid and the tweed, because he wears the same thing every day, and so it has to be pretty sustainable. The next two characters are going to be the barmen, and the barmen are the customers at the priest hole. They're said to be always intoxicated, and they come into the bar whether it's before their working shifts, during their shifts, or after their shifts. They're always there, and they're key characters that are kind of just like extras around Jacob and his dad. And they're always very scruffy and run down. For this one, for example, he's a fisherman, and so he's just in overalls and a shirt, and it's very durable fabric because he wears the same thing to work every day. And the second barman, he's a farmer, so he's in just tweed and a jacket and a plaid shirt, and so he can wear that whether he's at the bar drinking or he's out on the fields working.
The second scene takes place in Emma's bedroom, which Jacob stumbles into by mistake in an attempt to hide from Miss Peregrine because he doesn't want to get caught. When he walks in, he immediately knows that it's Emma's bedroom just by the casual feel that it gives off. A room can tell a lot about a person, so you can easily see how Emma is a very simple but girly girl. It has only the essentials in the room: a bed, a desk, and a dresser. The colors are very light and pastel-y with some greens and blues in there. And the room overall is a very accurate representation of who Emma is. She has a lot of depth to her, but she's also very simple.
And in the middle there is the second mood board for Emma's room in her scene. And it's very bright with the blues and the yellows, the pastels, and the lace, which characterizes Emma as a character. She's really happy and optimistic, even though she's living the same day her whole life. And all the furniture is very unique and antique, and it all matches, which goes with Emma's personality and the overall feel of the scene. The quote for this board is, "We cling to our fairy tales," which kind of alludes to Jacob always clinging to the stories that his grandpa told him, but also Emma and Jacob cling to their relationship in the loop in order to stay sane and have a good life.
So the first character in this scene is Miss Peregrine, and she is always dressed up, very dressed elegantly, but this is one of her more casual outfits. She is a woman, so she's wearing her everyday makeup look in this, and she is wearing also her signature bun, black, and high neckline. She is living in the 1940s, so she does have kind of an antique look with her, with all of the lace included on her outfit.
And the next character is Jacob once again, and Jacob is again just wearing a plain basic outfit, just pants and a t-shirt, and he's wearing a t-shirt because on the island where the priest hole is in present day, it's super chilly, but he knows that when he goes to the other side of the loop in 1940, it's going to be super sunny and hot, so he's just wearing a t-shirt so he can be comfortable to play when he's there. And then our next character is Emma, and Emma is 16 in the loop, but she's lived for 88 years, but she stays 16 for as long as she lives in the loop. And she is just wearing your typical 1940s girl outfit, just a flowy light dress, super like white and lace, just to be comfortable, and it just reflects her girly personality.
So our third scene is going to be the greenhouse, and the greenhouse is a huge point in the novel and in the movie. It's between Miss Peregrine and Jacob, and she finally answers all of his questions about his past. She finally informs him that his grandfather did indeed grow up in the loop, and he is peculiar just like the other children, and that he can see the monsters that they spend their days hiding in the loop from. And she also tells him that he decided to leave when World War II began because he wanted to fight not only the Nazis but also the monsters that are a threat to the peculiars. And so the greenhouse is supposed to be very earthy and natural. The concrete is going to be the flooring, and the glassing is the greenhouse covering. We drew a lot of inspiration from the different hues of green, and then the fabrics such as the leafy and the tweed fabrics to give it like more of an earthy, natural feel, because we wanted the greenhouse to be more of like part of earth than part of just the house. And overall, this scene's a huge turning point in the book because finally Jacob's in the know of the peculiar world rather than being an outsider.
As Elise said, during this scene, Jacob and Miss Peregrine venture out to the secluded greenhouse in order to get away from the other peculiar children and get some privacy. The quote for this scene is, "Extraordinary things are beginning to happen." It is also, like Elise said, this is a huge turning point in the book because Jacob finally starts to understand his grandfather's past. The mood board is filled with lots of green colors and dark colors to represent the somber and heavy atmosphere that the room had at the time. It also shows our inspirations for the scene and gives kind of a better look and feel into the intense atmosphere that the room had.
So, once again, Miss Peregrine is the first character in this scene, and in this one, she's also wearing her everyday makeup look, and she is a little bit more dressed up in her elegant style with the high shoulders and the deep V with the lace. And she is wearing her signature bun and black again. She wears black all the time in remembrance of one of the kids that she was looking after who died in the orphanage.
And the next and last character of the scene is Jacob again. And this time Jacob is dressed a lot fancier than he normally is because he stayed for dinner at the house this time, and in typical 1940s fashion, they always dress up super nice for dinner. So Miss Peregrine lended him some nicer clothes, so he's just wearing a button-down shirt and suspenders and nice pants.
Here's a sneak peek into the trailer for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, out December of 2016.
Side of the old man's grave, September 3rd, 1940. Monsters, Jacob. We have to get back to the loop. Let's go. We're peculiar, aren't you?
Okay, so does anyone have any questions?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Go ahead.
What is your movie rated?
PG-13.
What made you guys choose this book? I love this book. I'm impressed that you read it, and I can tell that you read it too.
We were really drawn to like the mystery and the creepiness and like darkness of it. We thought we could do a lot with it.
I loved it.
The trailer was really something. No,
Thank
really.
you.
When it started, I was thinking, are they making a movie? That was the first thing that popped in my head. So,
Did you come up with your own little taglines from people and things like that? Were those yours?
No, those are the real
That's
reviews.
from the-
yeah,
okay,
from the
cool.
book.
So I assume you guys know it has a sequel?
Yeah. I got it, I'm gonna read it.
I've read the sequel.
No, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet either, so.
I'm going to.
Such a bizarre story.
I know,
So
I
good.
love it.
You have to read the sequel after you read the first one.
What made you decide to make the switch from the black and white to the color? I like that in it.
Well, it's expressed in the book how in the present day it's really dark and dreary on the island because it's more in the winter and fall time. And in the loop, it's September 3rd, so it's like very sunny all the time. And he seems to be kind of happier in the loop too, so it's kind of just that switch of like present day to the loop.